Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up.
You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus.
Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up.
You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus.
Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. Ooh, I've been on the flex since flex zone. Neighborhood all in your eardrums. I ain't never scared like Bone Crush. Boy, I got God, don't fear none. My line busy, take no calls. Feels like I don't have no flaws. Snakes in the grass, cut those off. Your old squad shady, my bros raw. No breaks, we go, 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 go. Throw shade, that's a no, 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 no. Go high, go low, low, low. Like spinning in a 644. Cash money like 504. Ball like AD 24. No sleep, need more, more, more. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up.
You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus.
Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up.
You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus.
Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. Ooh, I'm a real one, my day ones. Try to speak up, can't say none. Try to dig dirt, there ain't none. I make the money that save up. 10 to 80, my save ones. Take to the top on the baseline. New car, race on. Fast lane, pace on. With the booyah, that's a flex. Not human, I ain't from another planet. I'ma teleport my advantage. I'ma wake up, do damage. Join number 7.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to CCF Sports. You can find myself at John K NFL. I cover the CSU Rams, but I'm wearing Air Force hat today because we have a great coming on a little bit. I'm gonna let Rick explain that because he knows him best. He's gonna handle the best explanation. Next to me, we got Tony Consolo from Buffalo's Wire. Tony, why don't you say hello? What's going on with you, man?
Hey guys, good to see you again. Tony Casolo checking in from your Colorado Buffaloes. Let's get into it, Rick.
Rick, let us know who we got on with us.
Okay, so here's the opening, and I'm doing this because I told a friend I would. Mata don't miss, and I bought the T-shirt on the NIL today. Let's get into my team, the United States Air Force Falcons. We are going to have a guest today that a lot of you know. Brad Roberts led the nation, not the Mountain West, not the state of Colorado, the entire nation in rushing last year. Brad will be joining us here shortly. We'll talk about the Wyoming game. We'll also have some questions for Brad, and he's going to tell us what he's been up to lately. So, yeah, this is our first official guest. I think we're on episode 6, right? 6 or 7?
Yeah, we're on episode 6, so it's been pretty quickly to get someone of this caliber, especially. I think this is someone that a lot of people look up to. When I was watching football, the last couple years, it was hard because you had the CU Buffs at 1-11. You had CSU with they had 2 wins that year, and here Air Force is dominating, and no one wanted to talk about them, and it was just so frustrating because there was exciting football, and just people in Colorado do not understand the Air Force Academy, it feels like at times. So that's why we're here. We're going to get you guys into the Air Force Academy and get you excited about the winning football team in Colorado. You ready to bring them on?
Whenever you're ready. I think one of the most important things to me and Tony is, we love the Air Force ties. We love his role in that team. But there's another A word that me and Tony like, and that's Arvada. Myself and Tony and Brad are Arvada residents. Tony, tell us what high school you and Brad went to.
Yeah, I was going to wait. Why don't we bring Brad on so I can give the legend his proper due, because I had to raid my dad's closet for this one, so I hope he appreciates it. But give me 1 second.
Let's do it.
Let's go Mustangs! Class of 05, Brad. Welcome to the club.
Glad to be here. Gotta represent the Alton Valley Mustangs. Love them.
That's awesome.
What class were you, just real quick?
I was 19.
19? Gotcha. So you're still very young. You got to be, 22?
Just recently turned 23.
Congratulations on that.
Appreciate it.
I know you've been working hard and doing a lot of work for the Air Force. So, one of my first questions is, What made you want to go to Air Force when you had other places? You know, in Arvada, you see places like CU, CSU. What made Air Force the choice for you personally?
I think it was more really the recruiting. How much the coaches really invested into you, the players, the type of relationships I saw on my recruiting visits. I mean, I still remember when other teams were reaching out to me. Just Coach Calhoun knew about my family, my brother, my sister. He really knew everything that was going on in my life, and it really showed. And it helped me understand that these coaches, it's not just straight business with them. I mean, they really care for you and what's going on, and they made it very clear to me that obviously football was a huge priority in my life, but I also wanted to grow as a man and also get a good education. And I felt like Air Force really and really kind of brought together all three of those.
Man, it's good to have you on, buddy. It's been a while.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I'm looking forward to coming out in the spring and visiting you. So now that you're on this side, now that you're a fan, you've got some things going on with your service commitment. What do you think about the 2023 Air Force Falcons?
Oh man, they've looked great so far. I mean, it's so crazy. Honestly, that first game did hit me. I was like, wow, it sucks not being able to play anymore. But I'm just so happy for all the guys. As you know, I have a lot of my really close friends still on that team. So it's awesome watching other guys get other opportunities, and I mean they're undefeated. So hopefully we can get another win. I mean we got a big week coming up here, so I'm excited to watch them. I mean they're still going to be my number one college football team forever.
You kind of led into it there. Got a big week coming up here. Mm-hmm. What can you tell us about playing the Pokes and what kind of problems that presents?
I mean, they're just a really physically tough team. And that takes a lot for someone from the Air Force to say that. They are not, I feel like a lot of teams, they can't really meet our physicality standards. And Wyoming does it great. I mean, they don't care. I mean, they are a very tough team, well-coached team, and they definitely got some players. I mean, I feel like every single year we played them, it was a tough, gritty game, no matter how good either team was. It's almost like playing another service academy. I mean, they're just a overall really, really solid team, and they're never going to back down. So they definitely present some problems, but I also think Air Force is the exact same way, and we got that home field advantage, and we got some really good players, so I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah, and speaking of Wyoming, they're able to play Air Force on a yearly basis. How much do you think that helps them in preparation compared to some of these other schools where if, let's say, Air Force wins out, hey, I don't think I think they deserve an opportunity in those 12 teams that are playing for the college football playoff if they win out all these games. So what are your thoughts there? And Wyoming's been used to kind of this offense and has seen it before, so they're prepared, versus some other teams that maybe down the line will not have that preparation, in their back pocket.
Oh, it's definitely a huge advantage for Wyoming. I mean, they play us every single year. They know our offense. It's a very tricky and confusing offense that not a lot of teams, I don't care what conference you're in, it's very hard to follow along with. But I mean, I know they take time out of their training camp, time out of the summer schedule to practice Air Force, practice against that triple option. And I mean, they've seen it every year, and they got a bunch of players back. I mean, they're a really good team, and they obviously know how to prepare for the triple option as well.
We kind of go ahead, Rick. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Brad, how excited I get, and just to play Wyoming and not see you wearing number 20. We got Dylan now, and Dylan looks like a BR 2.0 if that's possible. But what do you think as far as your position groups that you recently left? Tell me about the Air Force Falcon fullbacks that we got going, and I know you're close with E-Man and the guys.
Yeah, I mean the room is extremely talented. Um, it's crazy because, like you said, I mean I do see a little bit of Dylan Carson myself and Dylan Carson. You got Jet Harris, the bulldozer. I mean, just a mean, tough, violent runner. Really good and a tremendous blocker. E-Man, I think he's a very shifty fullback. I think Owen Burke provides a lot of speed. I think it's just overall there's so much variety in that fullback room that it just creates such a threat for other teams. And really, you look at a guy like E-Man who's had a tremendous year so far. I mean, he provides a lot of those assets just plainly by himself. And so just watching all those guys and trying to coach them up. I mean, I remember even last year, a couple years back, I remember when Jet was still young, Owen Burke was still young, and just helping them learn the offense, helping them with anything. I mean, they'd come to me for questions. Obviously, it's not too much like that, but I still keep in touch with them every once in a while. So it's very nice seeing them succeed and seeing the whole Falcons succeed.
You know, all kind of service academy schools are known for their humility, but I'm going to force you to talk about yourself for a little bit here, Brad. What does it mean as a local kid to look up, seeing the Air Force record books, see Brad Roberts written across all of those records, you know, rushing, career touchdowns? You couldn't write the history of Air Force football without Brad Roberts. What does that mean to you as a local kid and just being a part of the Falcons family?
It honestly means so much to me. Just being able to represent Colorado, and just kind of being able to provide opportunities to a lot of the other Colorado kids, going to camps, going back to Ralston Valley, my old high school, and talking to the high schoolers there. It means so much. Just if you're from Colorado, you know about Air Force football, especially as of recently. I mean, just a tremendous football team, and being able to hold some of those records, it's just a tremendous feeling. And I hope I'm someone that any of these young kids can aspire to be. And really, it's just tremendous honor.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that a lot of Colorado kids are concerned about is that they're not going to be looked at. It's just not that their film tape isn't going to be seen by CU or CSU, those kind of things. And I feel like Air Force will spend the time to really get to know, like you said, they knew you as a person, they knew you as your family, and they're able to get that knowledge on some of these players and keep them in state and have these great relationships and build rapport. Because, you know, I've been to a few practices with Rick, and it's amazing to see how young these kids are and how respectful they are. So it is one of those incredible things on recruiting for Air Force, even though it's something where, hey, you know, there's a disadvantage.
Exactly. I mean, I was recruited by both CU and CSU, but never got offered to either of those schools. And I think Air Force does a great job of getting kids that they know are willing to fight. They know are going to put in the extra work, and they know are going to succeed, whether that's from football, school, military, just really kind of tough young adults. And I think Air Force does a great job of that. And I think it's really showed over the past few years in football too.
Definitely. Now, Brad, 2019, you were technically a freshman. Is that correct?
Correct.
So you got to see your Air Force Falcons go into Folsom Field and beat the CU Buffaloes. Cade Ramsberg had that overtime touchdown, and then we had that COVID stuff, and which really probably helped your career, I would imagine, or at least in some ways accelerated it. Then last season, you got to play those University of Colorado Buffaloes on a cold, rainy September day. What was that like? What did that mean to you to kind of come full circle?
It meant so much to me. Really just as a kid, I mean, 15, no, probably like 25 minutes away from Colorado Boulder. But I mean, growing up, I would always go to their games. Really wanted to go to CU Boulder. That's where a majority of my high school friends were going. Wasn't offered by them. So when I watched that freshman year when we won, I mean, that was one of the coolest games I've watched. And just knowing that we were able to beat them, especially because you got that like friendly rivalry too with some of my buddies. And then I just remember watching that freshman year and being like, man, I want to be in these games. I want to be contributing. Obviously the COVID helped a good amount. And so when it came my senior year and we played them, I think it was like week 2 or week 3, something like that. Man, I was so fired up for that game. And to be able to kind of dominate in just the offensive facet, defensive facet, I think we played such a complete game, and it was so much fun. I mean, obviously playing any Power 5 team is great, but just the in-state rivalry that we had with CU, especially me personally, it was just great to get a big win over them.
And, speaking of big wins and teams that you want to beat, let's talk about a little bit Navy and Army. What do those games mean to you when you're playing them on the field, when you're hearing the sidelines? What is that kind of feeling going on as a player, and then maybe just emotionally going on with yourself pre-game, post-game, those kind of things?
Yeah, those games are just, I mean, it's crazy. The amount of history behind it and just the buildup, I will say at times can get a little bit crazy. Sometimes you kind of just got to relax and realize you just got to do your assignment. It's just normal football, but those games are so fun. I mean, I know they might not be the highest scoring games or the craziest games, but I mean, it's just such tough physical football. It's just very fun to participate and be able to win those games. Just the rivalry between those service academies. It's a blast.
We do something here. I'm going to have you go out on a limb here with us, Brad. But we pick all of the games each week and give a score prediction. So, again, I'm going to have you put you on the spot. What is your score prediction for this weekend's Air Force Wyoming game?
So obviously I'm taking the Falcons.
Stop the presses, everyone.
I will say I think it is going to be a very tough, almost like service academy game. I believe that it's going to be 21-10 Falcons. I think our defense has just played tremendously so far, and I think the offense has been rolling. We got a great offensive line, some great runners behind, and I think Zach Larry has really came along as quarterback. And I think the Falcons are going to take it by a good amount, but I do think it's going to be a very tough game. It's going to require all 4 quarters.
And real quick, I know we're keeping you here long, so forgive us. But, when it comes to looking forward for this Air Force team, it feels like, at least from what I've heard from Rick, this is kind of the big push. You have a lot of seniors, like you said, on that offensive line. Do you feel kind of similar that this is the year where Air Force has to make a push to really get into a good bowl game? Or again, like I said, I have a strong feeling if they win out, they can get into that group of 12.
Yeah, I think I completely agree. I think it's going to be, I mean, this is somewhat the year. I think Wyoming is going to be their first real good test. I mean, I've watched all of Wyoming's games. I've watched all of Air Force's games. Wyoming's looked real good so far. And I thought Air Force's looked really good so far. And so now it's crazy just thinking back, like how crazy college football can be. I mean, you have to be ready every single game. I mean, I thought even last year, I thought, man, we should win every single game. And if you have those miscues or those turnovers or offensively, you aren't playing up to your caliber, I mean, it gets crazy. But looking at Air Force so far, I think they have the playmakers that can do it. And I think they have the offensive line that will really carry them to a lot of these big time rushing games. So I think they definitely have a good shot at making it pretty far. And I think if they get over this hurdle of Wyoming, it'll be a good run for the Falcons.
Well, I like your prediction, Brad. And, I want to do something fun with you before you head back and continue to train and service our country. So first and foremost, if you're just joining us, we've got Brad Roberts on, and he played 30 games, a mere 30 games for your United States Air Force football Falcons, rushed for over 3,500 career yards, and 35 must be his lucky number because he also scored 35 touchdowns. So, Brad, what I want to do is I got a dozen or so guys I'm going to throw out there, and I want you to say the first thing that comes to your mind. Are you ready? All right.
Yeah.
Here we go. I got to start with your buddy, Bo Richter.
Terrible golfer.
How
I was
about
not expecting that.
E-Man?
Just workhorse.
Alec Monk.
Just tough.
Your Bolt Diesel offensive line.
I mean, I just want to say Diesel, honestly. I mean, just keep going.
And you are an honorary member of the Bolt Diesel offensive line, so I'll have to point that out. How about John Lee Eldridge III?
Playmaker.
I agree. Trey Taylor.
I want to say playmaker again, but let me think of. I mean, I'll just say dog.
Dan Kinnaman.
Gritty.
The big guy, Peyton Zadroik.
Extremely strong.
Yeah, he's a man child. And then we'll finish it out with Owen Burke. You had mentioned him.
Ooh. Trying to think of something funny.
Well, Babyface is a good one with Owen.
Yeah, no, you got Babyface. I mean, he's quick. He's just he gets it done. I mean, he does everything he can. He's a real good buddy of mine, and I would say just quick, bursty.
And then the last one is a friend of ours, Caleb Rios.
Genius.
And the perfect segue, because Caleb is a finalist for the Campbell Trophy, the Academic Heisman, and he is in line for a rare grad transfer opportunity. So that's pretty cool.
Yep. No, he's one of the smartest people I've been around. And he does that in every single facet of his life. I mean, military, academically, athletically. I mean, he's just a great person to be around, and it shows on and off the field.
And being an RV alum, yeah.
Yeah, us men of Arvada are known for that, Rick. You know that.
That's true. Hey, Brad, before we let you go, is there anything that you got going on, anything that maybe your future plans? Everybody always asks me, is Brad going to make another run at some time? What's the word on the street, buddy?
As of right now, no. I felt like I did everything I could. Went through all the training, felt very confident in my ability. I thought I had a really good mini camp, and ultimately it just didn't end up working out. And to be honest, I'm very happy with where I am right now. Right now I'm at Eglin, Florida. I'm an acquisitions officer out there, and so I'm very happy with where I am right now. And I'm just excited to be able to go to a great institution where they can provide you things after football. That's one of the main things that kept me going to the Air Force over other schools. So right now, I think I'm just going to stay on my military career path.
Well, that's it's still fantastic. That's what we really appreciate, that you're going out there, you're taking risks for America, for us, and we truly appreciate it. I know you're doing acquisitions, and it sounds like, you know, hey, it's just acquisitions, but we know you're acquiring and handling some very sophisticated equipment, and you're taking care of a lot of the stuff for the United States. So really just appreciation from me personally, and I'm sure the other guys will say the same thing as before we get you out of here again, unless you want to stay and just talk the talk.
No, yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I'm about to go to dinner with some buddies, so
Enjoy.
I'll probably head out. But thank you guys very much for having me on. Appreciate it, and go Falcons.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Brad. And there we go. We had Brad Roberts on. Wow, what again, every single person that I've met from the academy that Rick has introduced me to, these people are on another level of courtesy, of how to, you know, the way they speak, just everything is next level. And you can tell that's trained from the Air Force, that was trained from when they were in high school, when they were getting those high grades. Just so impressive with Brad Roberts and the entire Air Force Academy when it comes to their student athletes. I think that's the big difference. What we heard from him, he was a student athlete versus a NIL kind of guy. I did want to ask him, if there was an NIL, what would you have done? Just because I would be curious what fits his personality, but we understand he had to get going. So guys, real quick question as we're kind of doing a little bit of transition. Was there anything in the top 25 or any other games that kind of shocked you this weekend?
How can people or coaches and teams like Miami continue to screw up late game situations like they did? I'm not sure if you guys caught it, but that last segment of Miami against Georgia Tech, where they are running the ball when they could kneel it down and milk the clock, that is just, I mean, it is unreal that stuff still happens. But I think that's why we love college football, because you just don't see stuff like that in the pros very often.
No, exactly. What about you, Rick? Any games pop off to you?
Well, I focus on my
Colorado, yeah.
Yeah, so I definitely one of the games that went the way I thought it would. I actually predicted 24 points for Wyoming.
Oh yeah, you did.
And I think that game really, and a lot of people were wary of it. They're like, well, we don't want Wyoming if they're coming off a big win. Heck yeah, we do. I want them even more now. So yeah, that was one of the games that I watched, as well as the Boise State comeback against San Jose State.
We'll talk a little bit about that on a little bit later. One game that, stood out to me, honestly, was USC having to go to 3 overtimes versus Arizona. They're number 9 in the country. It finished out being, 43-41. I just expect better from USC if they're going to be that team in the Pac-12 that's going to kind of lead the charge. At this point, I just was really disappointed in that kind of game from them. Otherwise, not too much to be expected. I thought Arkansas, I like what they're doing. Again, they went against Ole Miss, who's number 16. Arkansas is rebuilding the same way CU is. And it seems like these teams that are doing the transfer portal when they fire a coach are doing some good things. So that was an interesting game for me as well. What about you, Tony? Anything pop off?
Well, I just was pissed off that Fresno State had to go for 2 because they ruined my perfect score prediction for Wyoming, Fresno State. But I'll take the 1 point off on that one.
All right. Hey, John, have we gotten any questions yet? I know on my cell phone I had a couple of the ones that I was asking Brad.
Yeah. Those questions haven't come in yet through what we have in StreamYard, but if you have any questions coming through on Twitter, anything like that you can see, please bring them up, because again, those were great questions for Brad. So
I do have a couple, and I'll ask them.
Okay, let's do it.
Segment. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So where do you guys want to move to now? Do we go to CSU, or do you want to talk a little bit more about Wyoming, Rick? Do you have time?
Let me knock out this Wyoming preview quick.
Thank you.
I'll sit back and enjoy you guys.
Thank you, man.
So like Brad alluded to, this is going to be a physical game. We're expecting that. Definitely liked his score prediction of 21-10. When I see this game, I see some pretty huge factors. And what I mean by that, Harrison Whaley, or Wiley, however you pronounce it, their lead back, he's a guy who's had 75 carries on the year, rushed for 540 yards. That's a 7.2 yards per carry clip. Very impressive. Statistically the best back in the Mountain West, maybe right next to the Boise State back, Gienti. So, with that being said, if you were watching that game with us, he got injured towards the end of the game. A significant injury, though in Laramie they're pretty mum on it. I do have some people up there. I have confirmed. Doubtful for Saturday's game would be probably an understatement. Not expecting him. So then you look at, okay, who else they got? Well, 10 other ball carriers have toted the rock for the Cowboys with a combined 124 carries, and still did not add up to the 540 yards that Harrison had. So they're right at about 508 at a 3.7 clip. So you see the drop off, right? This is huge. You know, one of the things nobody's talking about, Wyoming has played 5 of 6 at home to open the season, and they have not blown anybody out. They did not blow out Portland State, New Mexico. They barely beat Appalachian State. They barely beat an overrated Fresno State team. They're coming in here, and we're going to whip their asses. There's your preview.
There we go. I love that preview. For me, again, it's, Wyoming, like you said, they've had some kind of easier games. They're 5-1. I can't recall who they lost to. Actually, they just did, so I can. But it is one of those things where I feel like that they're a good team, built well, but I feel like Air Force has what it takes to play the long game, do what they do. If it takes 2 quarters to wear down this team, I think that's Air Force. Air Force can do this, and I'm very excited to watch this game. Real quick, where can people watch this game when it's coming up?
I believe, and so alluded to, but not official, that FS 1 or 2 is going to have it. I know there's still some talk we might get it in the same regard as we had last week with Wyoming Fresno, though it's pretty rare to see Mountain West back to back. CBS Sports always has whatever's left over. And unless you're not feeling well, John, I would want you to come down and see it in person with me and Tony.
Yeah, it's been an unfortunate week. Have COVID. I think I sound pretty good though, actually, considering been doing a lot of honey, a lot of those kind of things. So you guys ready to move on to another team? And I think it's time to do a little bit CSU. We focused on CU with a little bit with Brad Roberts. Let's focus on some CSU. Oh, I made the switch. I got my Rams hat on. You made the switch back to your CU hat on. We made
Quick
the switch
swap, baby.
to make it go well together. Man, was this a hard game for CSU, in my opinion. They came out, early. They were doing well, but it just did not feel like they were in this game, honestly. And they were, again, this was a team that I feel like they should have beat in Utah State. I understand what you've said, how they've had some moments here and there, Rick, but they're kind of also on the decline at the same time. And it just was a very difficult game to watch. CSU in the first quarter was really doing very well. Had to started off with a field goal and 2 touchdowns within a very short amount of time, within, probably 5 minutes of the game. And from there, it just broke off. So again, a big thing for me, I'm going to kiss the ass of Torrey Horton. He had a 79-yard punt return. I love that. That's something more for me to love about him and his ability to just do everything. But again, the running game was not going at all. I understand with quarterback sacks and stuff like that, it gives you into the negative, but it still was an issue running the ball. This game was, if you look at kind of the win probability, even for this game, by basically the second quarter, it went all to Utah State, and that's difficult. So this game ended up finishing 44-24 after, again, the Colorado State Rams came out firing and really got going until, the end of the game. They got a kind of a pity touchdown. So what are your thoughts on just in general of Colorado State?
This just to me looked like one of those games where this is just a growing pain game. This is a young team, coaching staff in its second year that's relying on a freshman quarterback. And I think I even said it in our text stream, during the game, watching it post game, all that kind of stuff. This was just one of those freshman games from BFN, as we affectionately call him on this program. But, you see it, he's under 50%, 3 interceptions, no touchdowns.
Yeah.
It was one of those games where he played like a freshman.
Yeah.
It's sad to say, and especially when you've been relying so much on the passing game, when you can't get much out of your running game, you knew it was going to come at some point. You didn't think it maybe would come against Utah State, maybe against one of the upper echelon teams in the Mountain West. But This was just one of those freshman games where it was all on his shoulders and he just couldn't step up.
Yeah, and again, we've spoken about this in the run game. They carried the ball 26 times, didn't get 100 yards, 95. That's actually very good for them. They got over the 3.5 yards per carry mark. Very happy for them at 3.7, had 2 touchdowns. But they kind of felt like a little bit give me kind of touchdowns. And when it came to receiving, man, they shut down Torrey Horton to 3 receptions for 20 yards. Can you imagine that compared to some of these other teams? CU has the defensive backs, and it just feels right now this team is struggling a little bit in certain ways because honestly, there's some games I think that they should have won or at least played more closely. We still have Mohamed Kamara still dominating. I know he got injured a little bit, but at the same time, it sounds like he's on the mend. He had 3 sacks. I mean, again, this guy is amazing in my opinion. For being only 6'1", I really want to know his real height and see if that's going to hurt him when it comes to the draft, because at this point, I would love to have him on. Plenty of teams would love to have him. Don't you agree in that regard?
I mean, if we get another Shaq Barrett gift where he falls through and is an undrafted free agent that goes to the Broncos, I would definitely take another one of those.
Exactly. And that's, again, he's someone who I think might get overlooked for his height, and that's fine because, we've seen them. But again, Utah State, they had the deep ball going all game. They had 3 receivers basically with receptions. The lowest receiver had 17.9 yards average per catch, and that was with 8 receptions. So you can't do that as CSU. That's not going to lead to success. I understand where they are. They're still growing. They're still, working very hard when it comes to their recruitment and getting some new guys in there. But man, it's got to start soon. That the turnaround, at least this is going on to, we're at 2.5. I'd really like to see some jumps from this team.
Definitely. So I got a question from Matt from Fort Collins, and he asked, he says that he sees that the all-time sack record for a CSU player is 16 in a single season. Do you believe that Mo Kamara has an opportunity to tie or beat that record?
I have to say, I think he can do it if he gets his body healthy. It really is one of those things where he is playing through, I don't want to say injury, but he's definitely playing hurt. I don't know exactly if he's, injured, but it really comes down to, for me, how well is he doing physically? Is he able to practice still? Is he able to get the reps he needs? So it's possible, but I think, again, we have to see his health. And I think, do you guys agree?
I agree. And here's top 4, John.
Mhm.
Number 1 with 16 sacks in a season was Brady Smith
Ooh, okay.
from the 90s. Then names you'll recognize: Joey Porter, 14
Ooh, there
sacks.
you go.
Clark
Everyone.
Higgins, who recently passed away, 12 sacks. And then Shaq Daddy with also 12 sacks.
I mean, I'm just saying that they got 3 this week. He seems to be able to go off. Again, they're moving him around in different positions, different areas to make him more successful. It makes the team more successful in the end on defense. If these games get, a little bit, tighter, hopefully he'll have more opportunities to kind of, just tee off and get after the quarterback. But yeah, I think he can do that. I don't know about you guys, but I think it's a possibility. And, for me, I just think the world of him.
Well, I mean, when you look at it, 9.5 puts him on pace for about 23 sacks on the season.
Mm-hmm.
We will have to see that injury, see how bad it is, see how quickly he can come back. But yeah, he's definitely on pace for a huge season. And he's going to be, like we talked about with Brad Roberts, he's going to be writing his name into the record books.
And I'm so excited for that. I think I hope he's not a player that they let fall down just because, hey, his size isn't quite what you need. Look, these guys, if they can ball, let them play. That's just as simple as it is.
Definitely. What kind of challenges do you see coming up this weekend besides the visual impairment of the Smurf turf?
When I look at Boise State personally, I honestly think that they're the second best team right now in the Mountain West. They've been running the ball actually pretty successfully, which I was not when I looked at them and was doing some research. I didn't expect them to be such a good run carrying team. They seem to have some really good balance, which I like. So for me, this game is going to be very strong for the Boise State Broncos, even though they're 3-3, they're 2-0 in conference. If you look at, ESPN right now, they have the Boise State Broncos winning at 79.2%. I know things can happen, and that's why CSU has a nice 20.8% chance. But I just don't see it. And the line has Boise State at -5.5, the over-under at 60.5. So they at least expect a high-scoring game. I'm just not sure if they're expecting Boise State to score and run this game up against CSU, because again, like you were saying, the yards rushing per game, it is so different for Boise State, 181.7 to 75.8, and that's not including some quarterback sacks. Both teams have some issues on defense, but again, I think the balance that Boise State has is going to get them through this.
Especially, a home game in that beautiful stadium.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if CSU's got a stand left in them, that Boise State team is just ripe for an upset.
Yes, they really are. They've had a few kind of tough ones and games that I feel like they could have come out with a little bit stronger. And again, for me, this game is at 7:45. It's on coverage on FS1. I just don't know if the guys are going to be up for it, in terms of energy. Are they going to be able to stay pumped all day? That's what I really worry about in these games that are later versus, a game that's later for CU, where they have entertainment and all this noise going off and the hype. I don't really see that happening in this game. So for me, it just means it takes longer. These guys get tired and a little bit worn out.
Yeah, and I mean, back to your point, Rick, this is one of those teams where if we could, if the Rams can have that kind of performance like they had against a CU, where they come up, you could see them beating a Boise State, a team that, for the most part, ever since they've joined the Mountain West, has been a pretty dominant force, especially when it comes to playing the Rams. Which it really comes down to which Colorado State team are we going to see? Are we going to see the team that started 17-0 up on Utah State, played really hard against CU, took them to the brink? Or are we going to see the team that kind of broke down in that second half, couldn't get a run game going, had to rely too much on that freshman quarterback, put a little too much stress on that defense to the point where it wore down? It's really a tale of who are we going to see? And I think that's, again, a reflection. You're going to see those growing pain games. These are young teams, young players with a young coaching staff.
Yeah, and when it comes to me, like I have a question for you. Watching the CU game, was that an aberration of what this team really is? Is this team CSU really up to that par?
I mean, it definitely shows their potential. That's again, it's one of those things when CU plays against CSU, that's a rivalry game. People are going to treat that like their Super Bowl. They're coming to play as a rivalry. It's, again, back to your point, can you get up for those other games? Can you get up for a Utah State? Can you get up for Boise State like you did for CU? It remains to be seen with this team.
Yeah, I agree. It remains to be seen, and I feel like, again, they play down to their opponent. They play up to their opponent. Do you agree with that, Rick? I know you watch a lot of Mountain West games, and it feels like they just go to the level of their opponents, and it's frustrating, I think, for a lot of fans of CSU and in general Colorado sports fans watching those games.
Well, I think you're looking at two teams in CU and CSU. They're just on the brink of finding their identities, and when they do, there'll be a loud popping noise because it's getting close. It hasn't been this close in years, and I really believe that there's going to be a game, and I hope it's this one, where it's like, okay, that's what we've been hoping for.
Yeah, I agree with you. These teams have the opportunity to get going, pop off. I really like, again, what I've said in terms of CSU having one of their best classes. CU is getting guys to come. We'll talk about, maybe a little bit about Boo Carter if we have time, and him being very interested into CU from Tennessee. Just a lot of good names. They're taking their time, making sure they can get it right, because they know, for CU, for example, they can get a lot of top-end talent for 3 stars if they miss on a 4-star. So that's kind of what's going on now for CSU. We're kind of getting closer to the end, so it's time, I think, to go to CU.
Sorry, just one little tidbit before we do that. So I think was it Matt that was asking the question in Fort Collins, Rick? I just want to make sure I address him. So, we talked about the single season sack record. Be looking at that career record too. As it stands right now, Kamara's only 6 off of that. So he's actually closer to the career record than he is to the single season record. So if he gets 6 more sacks, he'll be the all-time career leader in sacks for CSU. He's sitting at 27. The career is by Clark Hagen's 33.
Hey, that's something I'm very excited for. Rick, why don't you let us know what about you, because you're muted there.
Well, I was just saying I'd start making that trophy right now. That kid is the real deal. And, rarely do we say height is not an issue at that position. But for him, I think it's an advantage.
He's getting underneath guys and lifting them up and then able to kind of toss them aside. It's been very nice to see. I understand a lot of people have this mindset of arm length 33.5 and all that stuff going on. But, hey, this is college football. This is where you just play and you can do it. And he is getting leverage.
Yeah, he's impressive.
Really is. And anything else for CSU? If not, I'm ready to see some Ralphie and talk some Buffs. Let's do it.
If you guys saw any of my pregame stuff going into the week last week on Colorado Buffalo's Wire, I was harping on the point spread. I didn't believe it would be a 4-point game. I thought Vegas was crazy. And gosh darn it, how the heck do they always know? It's unreal.
No clue. I was the same kind of thing. I was just thinking like this. In my mind, I thought this was going to be a very nice game where they could settle in, learn some more stuff from Sean Lewis, do some different kind of plays. Keep going because you're right.
Yeah. So, we're sitting there watching the game and my brother even drops this on me. He's like, yeah, I make the comment to him. I'm like, I don't understand how Vegas always knows. It was 4 points to start. And he goes, yeah, it dropped to 3 right before the start of the game. So again, I harped on it. I was wrong. I will take my lumps. CU pulls out a 3-point win going into Arizona. Now, this Arizona State team, they played tough. They didn't play – it was strange. It was one of those things where you could see the talent discrepancy but CU could just not take advantage of it. ASU kept moving the ball. They kept running these different formations, getting them out of alignment, forcing timeouts. They just looked off kilter. And it's one of those things, again, like Rick was saying, when you see a complete game from CSU, when you see a complete game from CU, that pop is going to happen. And unfortunately, that just didn't happen against ASU. They needed to, again, have a last-minute drive orchestrated by our flashy quarterback, Shedeur Sanders. Hits a long pass at the end. We kick the field goal because Mata don't miss. CU escapes the desert with a win.
Incredible. And he doesn't miss. And like I said at the top of the show, I will be repping that whenever it shows up. So I got a question from Max in Boulder, and Max wants to know, do you believe, Tony, that Shedeur Sanders can lead the nation in passing while probably being the most sacked quarterback in the nation?
It's definitely a scary proposition, Max. I'll tell you that much, because he gets hit way too much. And it's something I've been harping on in all of my keys to the game. You have to keep him upright. And that man, he is one tough son of a gun, because he takes all those lumps, and as it stands right now, is leading the nation in passing. It's going to be a really interesting battle between him and Michael Penix Jr., another in-conference rival from Washington, because both of those guys can sling the ball all around the field. I think he has an outside shot at it. I think ultimately the sacks probably will be the undoing, because, again, when you look at it, Penix just doesn't get hit like Shedeur does. Could he prove us all wrong and lead the nation in passing? Sure. But I think if I had to score it right now, I'd probably say I think Penix probably takes the title. But Shedeur will make it interesting. He will definitely make it interesting.
And, just curious if there's been any thoughts or talking from Bill O'Boyle about changing anything on that line. I know people are signing petition to get Tyler Brown out there. I just don't see it happening, honestly, especially you want him for kind of the full season maybe next year. But have you heard anything about the line maybe doing some switches? Is Van Wells healthy? Those kind of things.
I think we're kind of in a point where I think we're kind of stuck with the options that we have right now. Obviously, I think the Tyler Brown loss, because of eligibility requirements, really hurt the offensive line this season. He was one of those guys that was definitely pegged as a starter. And there was going to be a probably pretty healthy rotation between him, Landon Beebe, and Jack Bailey, as it turned out. I think as of right now, one, I don't think you can turn to too many tackles, because the guys behind Reggie Young and Tank are pretty young. I think they still need some molding. I still think they need some time in the oven. I think until you get Xavier Washington back, I don't think there's going to be too many changes.
Now, exactly what happened to Washington? I missed that in terms of his injury, and I thought it was a lower leg injury, and that's all I kind of got. So what was going on there?
Yeah, it's a leg injury. He was iced up pretty bad. It looked like an ankle, and that's what was at least reported by Coach Sanders in the postgame. He had made the comment that his ankle was iced, and he was, pretty upset on the sideline, wanting to stay in the game. So he's probably going to be out a little while. What it looks like to me, and again, with college sports, they don't have to actually disclose the actual injury like they do in pros. But it looks like one of those high ankle sprains that usually takes a couple weeks to mend.
Those are hard ones to get going, because again, you need that for your cuts, everything, those kind of different things. What do you think about CU's rushing though? We saw Anthony Hangerson used a little bit more, 10 carries, 58 yards. We have someone over 5.8 yards per carry. That's pretty big. But then you saw the rest of the guys, Dylan Edwards, 7 carries, 16 yards. You have Weaver kind of get it on a jet sweep. Smoke didn't really, he got 1 carry again. And then Shedeur Sanders, obviously his don't really count for me, but in the end, the total was 30 carries, 56 yards, averaging 1.9 yard per carry with 2 touchdowns. How much longer can this team do this?
Yeah, it's just, and again, it's, in my post-game wrap-up that I wrote, the first takeaway that you see, they rely on the pass way too much. It's surprising, because earlier in the season, you wouldn't see the guys being efficient like Hankerson was. So that's where, again, like I'm a little surprised that they went away from the run so drastically against Arizona State, because you did have a guy that was running it effectively. I had kind of tweeted this out. The Buffs are a better team when Anthony Hankerson is involved in the game plan. He takes so much stress off of Shedeur Sanders, and he's just a grinder. He is one of those guys that is going to take 2 to 3 people to take him down. He's going to get you the tough yardage, and every once in a while, he's going to break one loose for you.
Definitely. Hey, Tony, I got one more question for you. Sarah from Centennial would like to know that she believes that we're going to be pretty solid with 5 wins after Friday night's game. She wants to know where you think our 6th win for bowl eligibility might come from.
Well, I think it really comes from 2 places. And one team that I think looks a little vulnerable, even though they did just have a huge win against Washington State. I kind of like that UCLA game. I don't know. There's something speaking to me there about that one. That could be one where, yes, they were able to shut down Cam Ward. That could be a game that CU could sneak off with, mostly because that looks like a schedule win to me, Sarah. Schedule wins are one of those things where it just works in your favor that you happen to be playing a team at the right time. I think they'll be coming off a streak of playing either 4 of 5 or 3 of 4 ranked opponents in a row before they face CU. The other one I see as a winnable game is playing against the Arizona Wildcats. We get them at home, so I think that's actually the last home game of the year. So if Colorado could sneak one of those 2 out, that could be really good. Beyond that, you look at the other 3 teams that CU's slated to face in Oregon State, Utah, and Washington State. Sorry, had to think about it real quick. Those are really good teams. Washington State, it's going to be an absolute shootout. Utah and Oregon State, I don't see much of a chance because of their grinded out style. There could be ones that could beat up on you. But if Utah's quarterback's still hurt, could be one of those Jim Carrey sayings where you're telling me there's a chance.
Definitely.
Cool. So, I mean, if we're looking forward, we did a lot of ASU talk.
Yeah.
Looking forward, we got a big one coming up against Stanford. As we said, Sarah, perfect segue for us. This really looks like a game that CU should win. Again, was saying that all last week that Arizona State should be a walk-away kind of win. Stanford is just not a good team right now. And again, it's kind of the same thing I said about Boise State. It's not been a common thing with CU playing Stanford since they've joined the Pac-12. They've always been a really well-coached team. You look at the Harbaugh years, the David Shaw years, they've always been really good. They're down right now. CU needs to take advantage of it. They need to start playing like a favorite, put together a solid 60 minutes, and take it to a team. And I think they could do that on Friday against Stanford.
I'm believing it. I think that might bring us towards some predictions, huh, John?
It sounds like a perfect time for predictions, but man, what a fall for Stanford for the last couple of years. They were really doing some great things, and then just I'm not sure if it was recruiting or coaching, what was going on with Shaw, but man, it's going to be this should be an easy win. So let's get to some predictions. Rick, you always lead us there. So Rick, why don't you take it away?
Okay, so we'll go ahead and do our predictions, and I'll do the wrap-up of the other Colorado teams that played over the weekend.
Oh, yes, of course.
So I'm going to start with CSU hosting Boise State. I believe that CSU is going to hang tough. I'm calling for the upset. I don't know why. I'm going to say 27-25. Colorado State Rams. What do you think, Tony?
Well, I do see it being kind of a more high-scoring game. The over/under set at 60.5, so that means it should be some scoring. I'm not going to do any favors with my friends up there in Fort Collins, but I am going to go with Boise State on this one, and I am going to go with a final score of 35-27.
Ooh, We're very close. This one for me, I just don't see SU getting there for this week. If they can, I mean, that would be amazing. I had a very similar score to Tony. I have it at 34-27. Unfortunately, with CSU taking the loss, but again, if they can grow and have those 27 points scored and continue to grow and develop, I'm very excited again about their pipeline. So it's been good. Who do you got for us next?
Okay, let's talk about the University of Colorado Buffaloes. I think that's just what the doctor ordered. I think Stanford is the epitome of a rebuilding team. I think we get a chance to play some younger guys, and I think we put up some points. So I'm going to go CU 42, Stanford 21.
Go ahead, John. I'm gonna have to look at something while I
It's amazing.
think about this.
You took the 42 right out of my mouth. I think Colorado's going to put up some points. They're going to be able to beat those corners and get open and just have some wide open spaces, which I love. I had it, similar kind of score, so I'll switch it up a little bit. I think it's going to be I have to say it, 45-10 kind of game. I really think that Stanford just doesn't have what it takes, and where they're going to be for homecoming week, it's just going to be difficult.
Okay, I had to look this up because I literally wrote a prediction article this morning, but couldn't remember because of the crazy day at work that I have. So, CU will definitely put up points. I think the defense will allow a little bit, but CU will walk away a 42-20 victor.
So we all have them in the 40-point range. We all see them being able to, I think, successfully move the ball well when it comes to passing. Do you expect anything different from the running game from both of you guys?
There's going to run the ball more. I think this could be potentially the coming out party for Alton McCaskill. I think this could be one of those games where Hankerson and Edwards get the early carries, and once it becomes a little bit of a laugher, I think you see McCaskill time. Make him get his legs under him, get him involved in the game plan, get him some carries.
Perfect. And Rick, now it is time for you to tell us what's going on in Colorado for those, I hate to say smaller school, but those schools that still matter to us and we still care about.
All right.
Well, wait.
No, he doesn't want to talk about Air Force.
He doesn't want to talk about Air Force? What are we doing here?
Oh, my bad. No, my bad. We have Air Force. Let's make the switch, even though I assume we're all on the same page. Let's do the Air Force. Rick, take it away.
And I'm going to pass it to Tony. I'll be the last one.
Okay.
All right. I am calling for a huge Air Force win. I see this one being big, getting some revenge against what happened in Laramie last year. I have Air Force winning 28-10.
Gosh, you guys are so good at taking my scores. I had it at 27-10. We're just going to make it, 27-9. They're just going to get field goals, we'll say. So we'll do it that way. We're close. We're on the same kind of area. Rick, though, you're the expert for the Falcons. Let us know what you think, because this is what matters most.
Okay, so the all-time series, Air Force leads 30-27 with 3 ties. Also, Air Force on the year, 5 games, has scored 188 points, and Wyoming has scored with one more game 157. Wyoming with one more game has given up 145. Air Force has given a mere 61 points on the year, averaging over 6 touchdowns a game at home. They keep rolling. I don't think they score 6, but I'm going to predict Air Force 37 and the Wyoming Whaley less Cowboys at 17. So 37-17.
I like it, especially with, I know a lot of people that, travel back and forth from Wyoming to Colorado for work and certain things. And I would just love to shut up some of those Wyoming fans who come down here and just seem to think that they're on par with Colorado. I know that sounds bad, but they're not on par with Air Force, Colorado, or Colorado State. Well, Colorado State we'll talk about. We'll get
Guys,
there.
I got to get out of here.
Okay, you got
Be
yours.
well. I will see you this weekend, Rick.
You guys
Yes,
are gonna have a
you
great
will.
time.
Have a great one, guys. Be well.
Be well.
Bye-bye.
And with that, with Tony getting out of here, you ready to get out of here as well, Rick? I know you've got some stuff, unless you want to talk about those schools still.
Yeah, let me wrap us up here.
Let's do that. I love it.
Since we went live, we want to try to include everybody.
Exactly.
So besides Air Force having a bye week, Northern Colorado also had a bye. So the games were Mines blew out Mesa. I don't know if you caught this, John, 52-0.
I count that. I like that score. I wonder how did they get to 52? They had to get a lot of field goals in there. Man,
Safety.
good on them. They got a safety. That's what I was trying to figure out. What was going on there?
Crazy. And Western State 42, South Dakota Mines 20. One of my schools that I really follow, CSU Pueblo 43, Adams State 10. And then Shadron kept Fort Lewis in misery once again. Fort Lewis is having a down year, 57-20. And the beat goes on. A lot of great games coming up for Colorado schools. Mine, yours, and Tony's included. It's going to be a great weekend. My friend, I hope you heal up and start feeling better.
I will, and I really appreciate it, Rick. One thing I did want to say real quick is CSU Pueblo, I really do like what they're doing as well. I think they've done some good things. They're recruiting players in state, out of state. They're doing some good things. So I just wanted to say that. And again, I appreciate you, Rick. You're always so kind to me, and I know everyone. Please give him a follow at Falcon8Fan. Again, he's a great guy. So ready to get out of here, and any last words?
No, everybody have a safe and fun weekend, and let's get 3 wins from our 3 teams.
Let's do it. All right, guys, be well.
Go and try your luck. Test me in again, we let it rain. Please don't start us up. Got that black and white, that yin and yang. Mr. Officer, please don't search us, we don't got a thing. Tell her park it up, then that be poking out them jeans. Up and sparking up, like the fireworks, I keep the flame. Heard you barking up, it's the wrong tree, I got the strings. Yeah, I'm charging up, they can keep up, got them looking drained. Now they walking up, trying to put the face to the name. Pull up and I'm swerving. If a try to